Okay. So in the last session, I completed the library. Okay. So today we'll start REST API. So REST API, like REST API on here is a on here we use the concept is REST representation state transfer. Okay, so yeah, on here addressable resource and simplified and uniform interface representation oriented communicate stateless and cacheable. Okay, that is
Mm,
all concept in use in the REST API. So also that concept used in on here we will use on here
mm,
as
mm.
a concept is REST use the first API on here. We will use first API. So actually, first API is a, like you can say this is a framework. It is a
Mm.
framework. Okay, same as a REST. Okay, first API use the concept of REST representation state transfer, and first API is a framework, a Python framework, and through this it is very fast.
Okay.
Okay, and
Mm,
also use data use for the data validation. Data
mm,
for the data validation use the pydetic on here. Use pydetic
mm,
for the query response validation, and
mm,
also use on here in the first API asynchronous support,
mm,
await and asynchronous all things on here. Okay,
mm,
in the first API, and these things actually this if you see in the where is currently using in the market, that multiple companies use this first API on the production, like Microsoft, Uber, Netflix. Different companies using
mm,
first API.
mm. Okay.
And suppose that we have talked about the first API. Okay, first API and parallel to another API we have,
Mm,
like Django and Flask. Okay, same as first API, we have two another API. First API, Flask API, and Django. But in we have three. But in we have three. One of the fastest. This is a first API is the fastest remaining two. Flask and Django. In case
okay.
of speed, okay, in case of speed, in case of asynchronous support, in case of learning curve. Okay, so learning curve first is very simple, and also performance wise very fast. So now due to that reason we will implement fast API on here.
Okay.
Okay,
So we have
and
multiple framework for the REST API implementation, but Fast API is a fastest framework to implement the to run the REST API.
correct. We
Hmm.
can do same things through the Flask.
With other framework also, but it
Yeah,
is not up to the mark and not fast as compared to Fast API.
correct. And also in now we'll start then Vani. Okay, now
Hmm.
so I create the API on here, create the folder REST API hyphen 22 November. So we have suppose in the last session we have all things through the manually create
Hmm.
the virtual environment. Okay,
Hmm.
one by
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
So on here we have be through the another way, through the in go to the browser, go Google and open, type Python UV, Python UV. Okay,
Uh,
this Python UV on here. Okay, this is a
what is this UV?
UB is you can say this is a like a another things. This is a you can say this is a package.
Hmm.
Okay, this is a first Python package. Okay, like a pip. Okay,
Hmm.
so uh, same things on here. This is UB is a package.
Okay.
Okay. So then we suppose in the last session we have write upon pip install numpy, pip install pandas, pip install something. Okay. This is a
Hmm.
package manager. Same things on
Hmm.
here. Now we'll talk about on here UB like on pip Python manager on here. This is a UB also is a Python package. Okay. Same as pip. Same as pip on here. UB is a Python package.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, UB is uh, when I using UB on here because UB
Hmm.
is 10 to 100 times faster than pip. You can see
Okay.
on here graph. Pip pip time take time 4.63 second.
Hmm.
PDM 1.90. Poetry 0.99. But UB you can see on here. You can see in the graph.
G.
UB 0.06 second.
Hmm.
So UB is fast. PIP is very slow. You can see 4.63. It will take time. So due to that reason on here, I will use UB instead of PIP. Okay.
Hmm.
So for the need to command for to installation. So for the window, we have to write this command. This is a command in the PowerShell. We run this command. Go to the PowerShell and run it administrator. Okay, now execute. On here, it will download the UV.
Hmm.
Okay, through the PowerShell, we can download the uv.exe. So you can see on here, uv.exe is installed.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
now go on here, go to the terminal, and now you can see UV. Okay, in the last session on here we type pip. Correct. On here we
Hmm.
type UV.
Pip. Okay.
Correct. In the last session, pip install or something. Okay, this is a pip
Hmm.
Python package manager. But on here, UV is a Python manager. Same things. So UV init.
Initialize.
Okay, UV
Hmm.
init means it will create the project, complete project structure. Through this
Hmm.
command, it will create
Hmm.
the complete project structure.
Hmm.
Okay, uh, you can enter. Now you can see. Now you can see all things is created on here. Man, version, git. Okay, it will create the automatic. Um, Create all the folder. Uh, then you can check on here. UV run man.py.
P.
Now you can see. Okay, UV run.
Run
We have
man.py file.
man.py. This is file man.py.
Hmm.
When UV run man.py, then you can see create the virtual environment on here. BNB. Okay, this is a BNB. It create the virtual environment. But in the last session, you can see I create the all things is through the one by one command.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now maybe remember I create
Py dot when. Yes, you write it.
yeah.
When.
Sorry.
In the last session, you just write that py
Yeah. Create
when.
the first create the
Py
environment
slash when m
environment, then
when.
create the create the virtual environment, and then set the path. Okay, then create the txt file. Okay,
Hmm.
then start the mm, page numpy. Okay, library. So but on here you can see in the within 10 second you can all things on here setup. Now we will use the on here we use the fast api. So ub add fast api. Now you can see fast is fastest for fast. Okay, I will use the fast API on here. So the command uv8 fast API, and one is command is uv8. Okay, another uvicorn. Uvicorn. It is a server like in .NET web server and okay, in the .NET web server. Same things on here. Uvicorn is a web server for on here we have running the site. Is a web server. Unicorn. Unicorn is a web server. Like in the .NET we have server different server, same things on here. Then this command. Okay, now we have fast api and ubiquon we need to install on here. Now run the command uv run unicorn server, unicorn server, and main colon. Okay, app means application, you can write reload. This is command to run the application. So error loading when the app. Okay, we have application main. Okay, for that we need to write the code on here. Okay, so we have write some code for the running the application. So first I will use on here from first API from from for first API import first API. Okay, now app is equal to first API. Okay, create the instance of first API on here in the variable app. Now define the simple route on here. Define a route like at the rate app dot get. Okay, and on here backslash. Now you can write the method def main return, and you can write message on here message. Okay, message colon and hello world, hello world. Okay. So on here, this is a if you understand the API, web API on here root.
Hmm.
Same thing. So this is a root. We have not passed any parameter on here, only backslash. So this is a empty. Okay. So when you run this application, okay, this is a root. Like you can understand this is root. Okay, and this is a function. And this when you run this API and call, then again I just check on here, just then clear. Application startup. You can see Uvicorn running on this port. Okay,
Hmm.
Uvicorn server running on this port. So then go to the copy. Okay, now you can see this is a hello world. This is a hello world. So on here we are not passing any parameter. Now you can see on here we are not passing anything in the root. This is root like as a on here web API root attribute on there we can see attribute root. Okay, HTTP post get. Okay, same things on here app dot get. If you pass any parameter like hello, suppose at the rate app dot root app dot get. Okay, get inside you pass the parameter hello. Inside hello we have passed the name. Okay, and
Hmm.
then function def hello. Okay, and on here pass the function in name data type string and colon then what the error is coming these things. Okay, just write complete function return. Okay, and
I think it is coming in the def. You writing that na app dot get.
yeah,
It is coming in the main def, I think.
just complete code then maybe syntax error.
Hmm. Hmm.
Message. Okay, message, and we can print on here. You can see if okay for the interpolation like on here hello and pass the on here name. Okay.
This line coming continuously from 7 to 13 line
13.
below line below diff line of message na no at
Hmm.
line number 7 at line number 8 if you see there is a line first line
This
on the hair first line ये लाइन दिख रही है आपको डेफ के नीचे डी के नीचे लाइन आती हुई दिख रही है
नहीं
लाइन नंबर 8 पे देखो ना
line number
8
8.
पे हाँ इस
Yes.
पे जो पहले लाइन बनी आ रही लाइन लाइन सिंपल लाइन जो बनी आ रही है रिटर्न से पहले उससे ही पहले रिटर्न से पहले जो लाइन बनी आ रही है मेन पे आ रही है उससे पहले लाइन डेफ पे आ रही है
Okay, okay, okay. This thing you are saying on here. Hmm.
हम्म,
Okay, this thing. Okay.
हम्म,
Mm-hmm. Correct. Good. So now on here we have passed the parameter on here. Okay. Name.
हम्म,
Pass the
हम्म,
parameter on here name. So
हम्म,
on here pass the parameter and on here pass the parameter dynamically. So go to the browser and now hello. Correct. Hello.
हम्म,
Hello.
हम्म,
And we have pass and here name it. Okay. Then enter. you can see on here Nimit.
Okay. So
Okay,
there is
this
no concept of controller and all the things which
no no
we are
no
dealing that .NET. Okay.
no. Okay, I further will be on go first. I one by one, step by step, all things
Okay.
on here. MVC related to all things on here. Follow the
Hmm.
MVC concept on here. So this is a dynamic value on here. So on through
Hmm.
the Uvicorn web server, I will check on things through the Uvicorn server. We through the URL, create the URL, and we can check the data. And this is a okay. You can say this is a root, pivot root,
Hmm.
and through this we can pass. Okay. So so
Likewise, if the so here at the red app.get, the get is a HTTP verb, right?
correct HTTP verb.
Okay.
So now we'll start. Now we'll do. We will connect the database connection on here. Okay. So for the database connection, we need to some setting. Create the command. Just Control C, CLS. So for that we have command on here. Getting installing running Python install Python running script and okay. So for the command we can write on here uv8 uv8 SQL model. Okay, this SQL model is for the related to the database.
Okay.
Means we have created the properties and classes for that. This
Hmm.
primary key, all things.
Hmm. Hmm.
For that
Hmm.
we use the SQL model and SQL Alchemy, SQL Alchemy, SQL Alchemy. Okay, this also for the ORM model for the DB connection.
Okay. ORM. Okay.
Yeah, and IO in asynchronous input output ODBC. On here we use the ODBC for the connection.
Okay.
And environment is Python pyth Python hyphen you can environment like .nb .nb. Okay, so you can see uv8 SQL model for the primary key classes we can create and okay. SQL Alchemy is the database for creating SQL, and this is ODBC we use on here, and Python environment .nb. Okay, now run. Now this is installed on here. Okay, so for that first I create the uh, uh, first I create the environment connection string. I close. For that we have create the environment file. Then I close, and inside I create on here one folder src. Src. Okay, so inside the src I create the new file .env. on here. Uh, Database connection. Like in the SQL, in the .NET, we have connection string. Same thing on here. Uh, data database underscore URL is equal to MS SQL MS SQL plus asynchronous input output ODBC ODBC. Okay, colon backslash. Okay. Now what the connection is, then open the SQL server. SSMS. This is my server name. We have no username password, so this is a server name and IODBC. Then at the rate, this is my server name. On we want to create the database name.
Hmm.
So database name you can write on here FastAPI DB. FastAPI DB. Okay, this is database. Same database you need to actually on here must create the database in the DB. After all things you can create from the uh, content, but you need to create the okay. I create the DB and okay. This is FastAPI DB. So this is a FastAPI DB. Now we have driver is equal to ODBC plus driver plus SQL server. Okay, and test connection true. Okay, test connection test underscore trusted underscore trusted underscore connection tested underscore true. If we have password, then on here no need these things. Because we have no password, then we have on here right tested connection. Okay,
This
tested
driver 17 is what is the version of this
yeah, this is a version.
of SQL SSMS
Yes.
or SQL
On here
Server?
we need to ODBC driver.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
we need to
Hmm.
ODBC driver 17 version. SQL server plus SQL server for the SQL server we need to on here ODBC driver. Okay,
Okay.
this is a version and this is true. Okay, this is a connection string for the database.
Hmm.
Now for the database connection we need to create like in the IDEO.NET through the IDEO.NET or we have created the DB connection. Okay, so in the SRC folder I create one folder database. In the database we have created the one file config.py. Okay, on the config.py we need to writes code for the connect DB. Okay, database and table created all things. Okay, like connect with the database and insert data in the database through this config.py we can do. So on here we write the code for related that code. Okay, then again tell you this first any doubt on here connection string.
No, no, no doubt.
Okay, in the connection, no doubt. Okay, then so on here we have write from SQL alchemy. Okay, we use the SQL alchemy on here dot exe dot asynchronous input output import create a asynchronous engine. Okay, and from SQL alchemy dot I tell you one while and space write the code first.
Hmm.
Asynchronous and dot session import asynchronous session asynchronous session and from SQL model dot orm import session maker session from SQL model. Okay, this is things dot orm import SQL import SQL model. Okay, like this thing from SQL alchemy dot orm import session maker. Now from dot env import load env import OS and just 1 second. So this line asynchronous input output. It's used
Hmm.
for the create the engine. Okay, like in the SQL Server .NET, you have created the database connection. Okay, so on here, for that it will create the engine asynchronous connection, and this line asynchronous session is create the DB session. It will create the DB session asynchronous DB case. It will use for the asynchronous DB connection. DB session. Session means connection. Okay, session established. When you create the session, session means connection. Then we can use the asynchronous session. And if you create the model properties, all things, okay, then SQL model, we have used the SQL model, like we have multiple property created. For that purpose, we use the SQL model. And this is a session maker is for the session purpose. Okay, when you create the session for the making the session, then for that purpose we use the uh, session maker. Okay, and this line use the this is a we have created the one INV file. Okay, we want to load the INV file on here through this line dot .nv import load underscore dot .nv. For this line, you can load this NV file. Okay, for this line from dot .nv import load dot .nv import OS. These two lines through we want to load this NV file through this line through this line. Okay, this is a create the engine, this is a create the session, and this is a create the properties and okay classes, and this is for the session created and for the purpose used on here. Oh yeah, for the OIM purpose. And this is for the load the environment setting NV file. Okay,
Okay.
and now load, and this function is for the load environment. Okay, load environment file on here. Load environment variable from NV file. This function is for that purpose. And now uh, database underscore URL is equal to os dot okay os dot get nb on here. We have database URL. Okay, this is a database URL. From on here we have get the connection. Load the environment file. Okay, this is for the load environment file. This that purpose environment file. This will connect from the this file. That purpose this two line, and this when load the environment file on this file, and from this os dot get nb, from this get the connection string on here in this database URL. Now create the asynchronous engine. Now create the engine means you can create this connection with the database on here. Like you can create asynchronous engine. So for that you write the code engine is equal to create asynchronous engine. Inside the asynchronous engine, we need to pass multiple parameter on here. Database URL and echo is equal to true. Echo is equal to true means is for the SQL query logging. Logging purpose we can use the echo is equal to true.
Okay.
And now we have created the asynchronous session. So SYNC asynchronous session is equal to session maker we have passed multi-parameter. First is engine, second is uh, class. Class we have asynchronous, class like okay. Corresponding argument assigned to the dot session directly to see the session in it, describing more detail in the parameter. Okay, so class underscore and is equal to asynchronous. Okay, this is session, this is a engine, and after that we have auto flush that is with the new created session. Auto flush, auto flush false, and now with this use for the expire on commit. Expire on commit false. Okay, so this is expire on commit is recommended, and expire on prevent the object from being expired after commit. Okay, it will prevent the object. It will prevent the object from expire after commit. After commit, it cannot be expired. Okay, for that use the expire on commit false. Auto flush we use the uh, avoid unnecessary flush. If you auto flush true, then multiple time is true flush multiple. Okay, so if you avoid the unnecessary flushing, then you can write on your auto flush false.
Okay.
And this is class underscore class underscore is equal to asynchronous session is used is tell to use the uh, tell SQL and alchemy, SQL alchemy. Okay, it tell SQL alchemy to use asynchronous session. To use asynchronous session, it tell SQL alchemy. Okay, SQL alchemy. It tell SQL alchemy to use the asynchronous session.
Okay.
And okay, so after that we have created the one function for the create the connection. Asynchronous asynchronous def and in it underscore db. Okay, inside. Okay, this sorry, on here no break. So asynchronous by sync asynchronous with engine dot begin edge connection and await connection dot run asynchronous SQL model dot meta dot create all. Okay, this line is for the table creation. Create a table. Okay, create SQL model metadata create all. This function is for the when you create that schema on your Python, and when you run, then this schema generate table in the DB. Okay,
Okay.
like in the entry framework for code first through the code file when you create the class, and when you
Mm.
create the run the command and generate the DB in the SQL server. Same things on here we am doing. I create the class on here, and when you run, then it will create the table in the DB. You can, if you want to create the command, you can go here, print database and table created. Okay, these things is on here. We write the create all. When any table, it will map with the database. If you create any class, suppose that multiple time you enhance, and after 30 days you have create a new class. Okay, when you run, then it will check the database. If not data and any table created on there, then on here we write create all. Then that table created in the database. For that use create all table. Okay, in database for the classes. Now go to the main.py. Okay, just I rename this file on here app.py, and I create another file on here main.py, and copy this code. Okay, so for the table creation we need to run. Okay, so we need to create from instantly import asynchronous, and like we have on here asynchronous. Just tell you what is the use of asynchronous def and a colon FastAPI. Okay, now you can write on here await init underscore db. unit underscore db. Not defined. Okay. From database dot. Okay. Okay, I write the code completely needs to code right on here.
Mhm.
Okay, we have created two things on here. One is a environment file connection string. Second is a for the database connection. We have write the this code on here. Okay, config.py and environment file. Now create. We need to insert on here. I create one model models. Inside model we have create one file user model. Okay, so we need to user model. We have create the properties create class on here from SQL model import SQL model field. When you create the field for that purpose, we on here write field and fields, and for the validation purpose we use on here identity for the validation purpose.
Identity
Import
means
identity
the
library. This is a
okay.
library. In the last session, I will discuss this library identity.
Mm-hmm.
This is used for the validation purpose. Field validator. Now we create the class user. Inside the user, inherit SQL model and table. We want to create table. Table is equal to true. Okay. Now we want to create table on here underscore table. Okay. Table name is equal to users. And now what the property we need to define on here? User ID. Okay. Int, and this field you can do field this you can write on here null false. Okay, and you can write in primary key true. Okay, this is a primary key. Here this is a false. Okay, user ID is a primary key. Now we have created the name we have created the string, and string is equal to field, and this is a null true.
F
Null.
capital in field.
Yes, is correct. Fields null is equal to true. On here you can add null. and okay, null label. Okay. If you want to add on here not null, then you can add not null. If you not allow null, then you cannot.
If we want to give the identity column to the user ID, then the property need to define in that bracket after the primary key with comma.
Yes, for that, if you want to unique, then you can write null label false. Okay, null label false, then it will work as a unique.
Okay. If we want to identity column set seed 1, 1, then in user ID.
Okay, if an identity on here we can do that things. Okay, I will do okay in the later, but I
Okay,
first
okay,
on the
okay.
basic. Now name and email. Okay, email str is equal to field and the label is equal to false and address is equal to field on here default. Value you can define on here default. Okay, this is a small default. No. Okay, this is optional and this is a unique, a false, null. Okay. Now I create the on here we create the model and config for the database connection, environment file for the connection string. We have created on here three things. Now same things on here and the MVC pattern we have created on here controller folder controller. Okay, controllers. Inside the controllers we have created the controller user underscore controller dot py. Okay, so on here we write the code for the API. Suppose we have created the get data for the you want to get all user data. Okay, and you have if you want to pass ID base, you can get the data. For that we write the API on here. So for that purpose, we need to write on your code from first API import API router, and for the error purpose, we have write the HTTP exception. And okay, now and for the response from first API response dot response import JSON response. Now for the list purpose, we have write on here typing import list and asynchronous generator and for the select purpose, we have write on here SQL alchemy import select, and we want to add for the create the session. For that purpose, use the from SQL alchemy dot extension dot input output, asynchronous input output, import we have asynchronous session, asynchronous session. Okay, and also we want to create the configuration file. Okay, this is a configuration file in the database, this is a config file, so also we will get on here config file. So from database dot config, okay, import asynchronous session. Once, okay, so for the config file and for the uh, create the model. Okay, inside the model we have created this model from uh, models dot user model. Okay, import user. Now, and the router is equal to API router. Now we have created the DB for the purpose of connection. We have write the create the session on here, asynchronous y and asynchronous def and get underscore session and like this way. Okay, lambda expression on here, asynchronous generator, and inside the generator we can write on here asynchronous session, asynchronous session colon none. Then asynchronous with asynchronous session edge session. Okay, and yield keyword you can return on here for this yield session. Okay, so on here this is a yield, uh, it will return when you close the session. Okay, after request end, after request end, when the close the session, then automatically its session automatically close. Okay, this yield first API inject this into the root, first API inject into the root this yield keyword, and asynchronous with use for the make the DB operation asynchronous, asynchronous with it create the asynchronous for the create purpose of the asynchronous function. That line is used for that purpose.
Okay,
Now,
the process is very lengthy actually.
yes, actually I am actually on here. I am like typing. Actually, we have no intelligence on here.
Okay.
That region on here it will take time. First time it will take, but after that, you can copy paste. You can do all things.
Hmm.
Okay. After that, when you create something, then copy and paste on there. So after that, uh, we have create the one function for the get the user list. Okay. So far, first we have created the router. Okay. Router dot get, and on here we have pass like on here all. Okay. All. This is on here we get the response, like response response model on here, right? We want to get list is user, list is user. And then, okay, this is attribute root. Okay, now we have created the function asynchronous, s by asynchronous def read user, read underscore users. Now create the instance of the session, asynchronous session, and as equal to depends depends or depends. Okay, this depends and get session. Now first statement for the statement statement is equal to select user. Second for result await session dot execute. Okay, same things in the .NET ADO.NET statement user and execute statement. And now use the scalar function on here, users is equal to result dot scalar dot all, and on here return users. Okay, this is function for the get user list. So just I run this code, run terminal. Okay, okay, Uvicorn man app reload. Error is coming on here. Error loading is in the app attribute app, not found in the module man. Then go to the man. Okay, okay, this line where I write code. Okay, on there we have write the code in the controller. Okay, and then now on here we have in the man file we have created the we have used the controller on here, controller controllers dot user underscore controller import okay import uh, router and as a user underscore router and connection string database connection database dot database dot config import init in it. Okay, now use the asynchronous, then await. Now use the yield. Okay, now run this code. Error is coming on here. Importer.py. Why the error is coming on here? Self run. Okay, so if you can running on the port, then self.run. Line number. Let's check the DB on here. New table is created from here. What the error is here on here? No module name controller. Controllers, no module name. SRC we have controllers, database, model, and this is env file. Then on here controller, user controller. What the error is coming? Line number 33. Model main.py line number 3. It is not getting from here controller. Actually on here not getting controller. That line is issue is coming on here. Like okay, just I run this code again. Uvicorn. Now it will erase database config import db. No module needed database. No module name database. This is a database. Actually, this for outside this man is not getting. Okay, so we need to add this man in the src folder. Okay, now it will go in the src. Now just run. Could not import module man. Started reloader. Could not loading async generator. Okay. Okay, this thing is okay. Man, erase second erase coming. File. Okay, I complete these things in the next session. Till you have any confusion, actually, I'm not multiple file. I'm not. You tell you. This is a py project dot tom file. Like in the Angular, we have package.json file on here on their dependencies. Same things on here we have dependency. Like we have installed the IODBC, FastAPI, Python, okay, .nb, SQL Alchemy, SQL model, Uvicorn, all packages come on here.
Okay.
Same thing in the package.json file in the uh, in the Angular.
Okay.
And after that, it will create the log file on here. Same thing in the package.log.json file on here on there created. Then on here, ub.log file is created on here. And readme.bmd on here some instruction regarding you can on here no things. And this no, and this is on here package version. Which package version you are Python you are using. And git in ignore you can use for the if you want to some things you want to ignore, then you can write on here.
Okay.
Okay. And this is environment and this is a main file. Through this you can run the application environment. You have connection string model. You have created the class database. You have other database connection on here. And user controller. On here we have created the APIs, multiple APIs, create operation, insert, update, delete, all things on here in the controller. Same thing in the .NET.
Okay.
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 So on here, not creating DB create table and something we have checked this for the error is coming. So now we'll connect in the next session. Okay.
Okay.